You're listening to Ideal Practice, episode number 81. And today, guys, I'm going to walk you through a better way to prepare, a better way to start thinking before you dive into the nitty-gritty planning for your practice in 2024. Wait a minute. You do that, right? That is plan for each year? Okay, well, if so, then you're really going to want to hear the announcement that I'm going to make at the end of today's episode, because I've got something kind of cool that I am offering for the first time ever. So, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Wendy Pitts-Reeves, and with over 2 decades of experience in the private practice world, I've built my 6-figure business while learning a lot of lessons the hard way. This is the first podcast that shows you how to apply the principles of energy, alignment, and strategy to build a practice that is profit-centered, but people-forward. This is the Ideal Practice Podcast. Hey guys, this is Wendy, your host. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Ideal Practice Podcast. How are you guys doing? Are you having a lovely day? I hope you are. I know that this is a big week when this is coming out. If you're in the U.S., you've probably got a lot going on. I sure do. I have a house full of people and a fridge full of food. Yes, I do. Lots of cooking happening this week. Well, I have something kind of cool I want to share with you today. But as I was preparing for this, I just got to tell you about this sweet little thing that I just stumbled on this morning. I was checking my email, and I get an email every week from my audacious friend, Janet Feld. Many of you may remember Janet. I think she was my very first interview here back in episode 17. And the title of that episode was something like, if you want to change lives, change yours first, something like that. Janet is not a therapist. She's not a healer, not in the traditional sense. She's not an energy worker. She doesn't do yoga. Janet is a singer-songwriter, guitar teacher who lives in Boston and who is a larger-than-life human being that I absolutely adore. And I get emails from her every week, as everybody who's on her list does. And I don't always pay attention to them because I'm not one of her students. I'm one of her fans, her friend, her supporter. But it dawned on me today that I might want to check in and read some of her stuff because she often talks about how to practice for her students, of course. Well, y'all know I'm learning violin. I've been taking fiddle lessons most of this whole year. And I was just literally thinking this morning about how I think I'm doing fine, honestly, in terms of any adult who picks up an instrument at this point in their life. I think I'm probably doing just fine, but I really would like to do a little better, a little faster, to be honest. And I was just thinking today that I needed to think about how to create a practice regimen, a structure that would maybe work a little bit better because I'm all about structure. I'm all about systems. Well, I read Janet's email today, and in it, she shared something that I thought was really cool. She said that she finds herself thinking about the whole concept of practicing as not being practicing at all, but about repetitive discovery. In other words, that the more you repeat the exercise, repeat the play, the song, repeat that part you can't quite get, every time at some point you're going to stumble into discovering a better way to play it, that your skills have improved, that, oh my gosh, this is so much fun because it actually worked that time, that every time you practice, you are essentially engaging in repetitive discovery. Isn't that a great way to think about that? And it occurred to me that's also a great metaphor for what we're doing in our practice, in our business. If there's anything that running a business will teach you, it is that you don't ever really finish the learning. Your growing is going to continue as long as you run a business. And things that are hard in the beginning get easier later, and then something new gets hard. It just never really stops. The process is an evolution that is ongoing. And Janet shared a video in her email today of herself practicing a new tune that she's working on, that she's learning. And it was just so cute because she called it her train wreck video, which cracked me up because it was anything but a train wreck. She is learning. It's obvious that she's working on a really hard piece. But I just love that idea. So if you ever feel like your practice is kind of a bit of a train wreck, either because you're working too many hours or not enough, or you're making plenty of money but in ways that are exhausting, or you're not making enough money at all and you'd like to figure that out, or you're seeing plenty of folks but the work is no longer as fulfilling as it once was, or it's great in all kinds of ways, but you've got all kinds of new things or bigger ideas that you want to implement. Whatever it is, if you sometimes feel like your business, your practice, or for that matter, you are a bit of a train wreck, I just want to say all you're doing is engaging in repetitive discovery. Be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be compassionate. And recognize that the learning is ongoing. Yeah. If y'all missed the episode where I interviewed Janet, you got to go back and check it out. It was episode 17. It was a way back. But she's a character and a half, and I think you will love her. So let's get into what I want to talk about today. I'm thinking, y'all know this because I've been talking about it for the last few weeks. I am very aware that the fourth quarter of the year, this time where we are right now, is such an important time to begin getting your ducks in a row for next year, getting your site cleared, your intentions set, your goals in place, getting really sure about what you want to do with yourself and your practice in next year. I've been, but I have not always been that way, y'all. It used to be that when I've always been a planner and I've always loved a planner. I love that kind of stuff. But I used to, when it came to thinking about next year and planning next year, it was mostly about thinking about my kids' schedules, when we could squeeze in some kind of family vacation, and maybe a sense of how many client hours I could fit into a week. When I was growing my group practice, I was really involved in the community. That was one of the main ways that I built my practice, was by being super active in my town. And my so-called planning really didn't include much more than just making sure I got all the meetings on the calendar for the year, because there were a lot of meetings that I had to go to back then. So I certainly was not intentional about that, not that way, not the way I think about it now. Well, all of that began to change. And it really began to change. I hadn't really thought about this till this very moment as I'm saying this to you. That actually really began to change when I went through this rough patch when y'all know that I served in public office at one point. I ran for office and served on my local county commission for a term. Which was we could talk about that all day. I'm not going to talk about that here. But when I came off the county commission, when I finished that term, my practice itself was in a tough spot. I had lost a lot of business over those 4 years that I was serving, because my whole world was about public service at that point. And I myself was not the same person. It was quite a life-changing event or experience doing all that and going through all that. And I really went through this, at the time, what felt like a really rough time, where nothing seemed like it was working and everything was really hard. But when I look back on it now, what I realize now is that it was really the beginning of a huge transformation in my life that probably needed to happen. Over the next couple of years after that, a lot of things happened in my life that I've talked to off and on here and there. But the result that is relevant for this conversation is that I began to think very, very consciously about what made me happy. What do I love? How do I want to spend my time? Who was I being called to become next? Because that whole experience of being in public service had really expanded the way I thought about things. It expanded my sense of what I was capable of. And it certainly expanded my awareness, or maybe deepened my awareness of kind of what matters most in life. I'll put it like that. And I very consciously embarked on a personal discovery process. I'll tell you, this is not where I meant to go with this episode, but this is where we are, so we're going to go here. I purposely embarked on this self-discovery process where I began to ask myself, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want in my personal life? What do I want in my relationships? What do I want from myself? What do I want from my business, from my career, from my work? And I began to do things much more consciously. I was tired of feeling stuck. I was tired of working so hard and not really having a real good time. I became quite serious about growing my practice in a healthier way, about running my life in a healthier way, and honestly, about just being happier. That's also when I seriously upped my investment in coaching. And in case, like to put this in perspective, y'all, I'm talking about a frame of a period of time from roughly 2010 to 2012 or 13, those 2 or 3 years in there, maybe 2014 a little bit, but right in those 2 or 3 years when everything changed because I got much more intentional. And that's not always an easy thing. It's not always an easy thing. But here's the thing, and here's why I want to talk to you about this, because that's where I'm going. That's where I want you guys to go. We tend to move through our life and our work fairly unconscious, right? We just put one foot in front of the other. We just do whatever the next to-do thing is on our list. We just put out the next fire that's in front of us or hit the next deadline that's in front of us. But it is very, very easy for day after day, month after month, year after year, to pass without our ever really taking action on the things that matter most to us. And I'm not judging anybody about that because I have done that myself plenty of times. Of course I have. It's easy to do that. But when we stay stuck in the same habits and patterns, the same thought process, the same mindset, the same approach to our work and our life, and we do that year in and year out, and then we kind of wonder why our income never grows or our practice starts to feel a little bit stagnant, or you wake up one day and you're just not having fun anymore. Well, that's why, right? That's why. Well, did you all hear the episode last week, which was episode 80, where I offered you a little worksheet that I had created? I called it the Declaration of Intention. And on that worksheet, in particular, I had 5 questions I wanted you to think through as you prepare to do your vision work and your actual strategic planning for 2024. If you did not download that worksheet and you still want it, you can get it. All you have to do is go to wendypittsreeves.com/declare, wendypittsreeves.com/declare, and you'll get that worksheet. But I think just in case you don't do that, I'm going to talk through those 5 questions here. It's that important because as I was thinking about this, the questions that I asked on that worksheet are the questions that sort of set the stage for what I want you to do next. And it's important enough that I decided to devote this episode to that. So if you don't mind, I hope that this won't be repetitive because I did not talk about these questions last week. But we're going to dive into them now. These 5 questions are clarifying questions to help you get ready to do your strategic thinking and planning for where you want to go with your practice in 2024. And I do hope you want to engage in that process because, as I said, if you don't, one year leads to the next and the next and the next, and before you know it. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what those 5 key questions are, those 5 clarifying questions that will help you prepare for your strategic 2024, your best 2024. Please take some time, y'all, to think about. I've had a bit of a frog in my throat today. The first one is, who do you want to be or to become in 2024? And I mean as a business owner, as a human being, as a spouse or a parent or a friend, but especially I'm, of course, focusing on your practice. Who do you want to be? How do you want to show up in your business in particular and in your life in general? For example, maybe you want to be someone who is more focused, more deliberate about how you approach your work. Maybe you want to be someone who is more confident, more at ease, putting yourself out there. Maybe you are someone who wants to become or be more skilled, more advanced in some aspect of your clinical work or your life as a CEO. I don't know. Maybe you just want to be someone who is lighter, more playful, more rested. I don't know. But who do you want to be? How do you want to show up in 2024 for your business and your life? Think about that. Ponder that. Dream about that. Enjoy it. The second question I want you to answer, and actually, y'all, I'm going to tell you, I've rearranged these questions from the way they were on the worksheet because I changed my mind when I went back to look at this. This is how I do things, y'all. The second thing I want you to think about is, this is a little bit more strategic. What problem or problems do you want to solve in 2024 for yourself or for your clients? For your clients or for yourself? For example, it might be maybe you work with adolescents and you want to help the teens that you serve, that you see. You want to help them navigate social media in a healthier way. Maybe you really want to help teens find their voice in their family. Maybe you want to help teens see themselves in a whole new way. I don't know. But what's the problem, a specific problem that you want you want to solve for your clients? That's just one example. But maybe it's something you want to do for your business. Maybe the problem is that you want to clean up your pricing structure so that your accounts are easier to track. You know what you're charging and with whom and how, and your income fills in. The gaps get filled in a little bit better, and the bottom line raises a little bit. Maybe it's something like that. There's a problem that your clients have that you want to do more about, or there's a problem that you have in your practice that you want to do more about. What is that? Let's think about that. That's the second question. And y'all, that's the driver behind a lot of things. Figuring out what that is will help you in so many ways going forward. The third question that I want you to think about that's relevant to that, that's related to that, that connects to that, knowing what that problem is. What do you want to give or share with or offer to your clients and customers that is directly related to that problem you want to solve? Some of the examples I can think of is maybe you want to offer an online course for newlyweds who are just getting used to what life is like as a married couple versus a dating couple. Or maybe an online course for engaged couples for the things they want to think about before they take that next step. Maybe 2024 is the year you want to create your first YouTube channel with parenting tips. Maybe 2024 is the year you're finally going to do that women's retreat that you have been talking about like forever. But it also might, even if it's a problem you want to solve for yourself or for your business, like let's use the example I gave of cleaning up your pricing structure. That's also something you want to offer your clients, which is more clarity about how you do and don't work, what you do and don't offer in terms of payment options. That's just a really common example of something you might want to do next year. So again, question number 3 is, what do you want to give, share with, or offer your clients and resources? And notice that the things that I'm mentioning, y'all, they're not all paid. I'm not talking about products, programs, and services. That can be it. It can be that. But it doesn't have to be that. It can also be a new system. It can also be something free, like a resource library on your website, whatever. All right. That's what you give to others. Question number 4, what do you want to be open to receiving, perhaps for the first time in a very long time, and maybe for the first time ever? And I ask this question on purpose because I know you guys, and you are so much better at pouring yourself into your clients, your kids, your friends, the nonprofit you work with, your center of faith, your community. You're so much better at pouring yourself into others. But for your practice to be healthy and successful, for it to be profit-centered, people forward, it needs to be balanced. And that means you're giving out and you are receiving back. You are offering and you are allowing, right? So what do you want to be open to receiving? It might be, for example, something as simple as learning how to take a compliment and to stop deflecting it when your clients tell you you're awesome. Maybe it's asking for, like actually asking for and allowing and accepting help. Whether it's a girlfriend who offers to keep the kids for a minute while you run some errands, whether it's hiring your first VA. And if you don't know how to do that, go back and listen to the series I did a few episodes ago about how to do that and what to think about that. I'll link those in the show notes below. Maybe it's just learning how to feel good about getting paid. Maybe what you are open to receiving for the first time ever is abundance in income. And that when your clients pay you, you just say thank you and appreciate it and allow it without the guilt talk that goes on in your head, right? So again, question number 4, what do you want to be open to receiving perhaps for the first time ever in 2024? And number 5, just one kind of little fun thing to pull this together. If you had to choose one word that could be your guide, your anchor, one word that would encapsulate all of this as you evolve into and through 2024, what would that be? Now there's a whole thing about word of the year. That can be a whole conversation in itself, and I will probably do an episode about that for sure later on. But let's keep this one kind of simple for now. Just thinking about these 4 questions that I just mentioned to you. If you had to choose one word that kind of ties it all together, what would that be? Some examples might be focused, expansive, open, grounded, clear, playful, creative, and my favorite, profitable. Actually, that's not my favorite. It's just a fun one to say because I know it bugs everybody. What the hoop. So anyway, what's that one word? So let me go back over those 5 questions again. Number 1, who do you want to be? How do you want to show up in the world for your business and for yourself in 2024? Number 2, what problems do you want to solve for your clients or for yourself? Because that's going to give you a target, y'all, to work on when you take the next step with all this, okay? So what problems do you want to solve for your clients or for yourself? That's number 2. Number 3, what do you want to give, share with, or offer to your clients or customers that is directly related to the problem that you've identified? And number 4, what do you want to be open to receiving also in return for perhaps the first time ever? And finally, what's one word you could use as a guide, an anchor, a center point to help you stay tuned in to this vision that you are already starting to create? All right, play with those things. And if you want the worksheet where I have mapped that out for you, go to wendypittsreeves.com/declare to download your copy of that worksheet. That's some people really like that, and you can fill it out and you can tape it up to the wall somewhere, and that will give you a really good point to start with, to focus on as you start moving into next year. Now remember I told you that the way I used to do things was my planning process was really nothing more than making sure I wrote down all of my obligations for the year. When my kids had to be somewhere, what meetings I had to attend to. The only thing I really did that was not that kind of thing was making sure we had some time marked off for a family vacation. That's really kind of all. I no longer do it that way at all. I am actually quite intentional about how I run my business and how I run my life today. That doesn't mean it's perfect. It's not, but it sure is a lot better than it used to be. And today, guys, I run 2 different businesses. I still have an active counseling practice, and I have a very active coaching practice, a business coaching practice. And although I have to watch it because I can be a bit of a worker bee if I'm not careful, I do actually have a life. I am never bored, ever. I love my counseling clients. I love them so much. I have to pinch myself sometimes when I think about who I am getting to work with and how much I care about them and what an absolute joy they are to work with. And y'all, they all pay me in full, and most of them pay in advance before we even meet. That means I have virtually no paperwork to keep up with. And let me tell you, that's part of how I have a life now, right? I also really love my coaching clients. I am always inspired by them, their courage, their resilience, their creativity. It never ceases to amaze me. So I just, I'm quite happy about all of that kind of stuff. And I work really hard. I'm running this podcast in addition to running both businesses. Like, I am not someone who sits around and twiddles my thumbs, that's for sure. But I still manage to take off anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks a year. I take Wednesday afternoons off to go to my fiddle lesson and go play a little bit. I am trying to work less, and I don't work much in the evenings at all anymore, and I will occasionally have to do a little bit on the weekend, but I'm really, really trying not to do that. Bottom line, I am nowhere near perfect. It's a work in progress. It always is for all of us. But I do love my life, and I do love my work. And that's what an ideal practice looks like. And I have that because I am quite intentional about how I plan and where I want to go. And I want to do that for you. I want to help you guys do the same thing. So I told you I had an announcement to make for you today. I've been telling you this was coming, and here it is. I am so excited to share with you that for the first time ever, I am bringing to you the planning process that I do with my private coaching clients. Typically, I do a retreat in December of each year. I've done it in person for the last few years. It's been online. And the process that I walk my clients through is so juicy that I've decided this year for the first time ever to open that up to you and share it with you as well. And so I am announcing what I'm calling 2024 on purpose. 2024 on purpose. Okay? And what this is an online mini retreat. Think of it as a mini retreat where you and I together in a small group format are going to step out of this kind of crazy, busy energy of this time of year, and we're going to give your business and your dreams our complete and focused attention for 3 full hours on an afternoon. 3 delightful, delicious, thoughtful, inspiring hours. This is not a webinar, y'all. This is a live interactive experience, and it will be small group based. All right. We will be working through a guided process together. This is very much hands-on, and you guys are going to be sharing ideas and ahas throughout the whole thing, which is something that my clients and students tell me is one of the best things ever. They love that about the way I work. There is nothing like being in a space with colleagues whose heart is in the same place like yours is, and who you learn so much from and have so much to share with. It's really, really delightful. We are doing this. I told you to save this date last week. We are doing this on Friday, December the 8th. This is 2023 when I'm making this recording. Friday, December the 8th from 1 to 4 in the afternoon Eastern. That's 12 to 3. What is that? 12 to 3 Central, and that's 10 to 1 Pacific. That's far enough ahead. December the 8th is far enough ahead of the new year to give you time to process, to fine-tune the work that comes out of this day so that you will get to Q1 in January ready to go and really clear about what you're going to work on. All right. Now, this is very different from a typical planning workshop if you've ever done anything like this before. First of all, it's based on my unique framework, which is the 7 pillars of an ideal practice. I've talked about that here on the podcast a fair amount. That means that we are going to take a holistic view of your practice, one that makes sure that we cover all the bases and don't leave anything important out. But secondly, this is way more than just goal setting. It is a guided process, a thinking process where I'm going to walk you through reflection to intention to implementation so that when we're done at the end of the day, you're going to walk away with a strategic roadmap for your practice and where you want to go next year. And it's going to be a roadmap that you design. That's what's going to make it ideal because it's going to be yours. I'm just going to help you figure it out. Is that not the coolest thing ever? I hope you're excited because I sure am. Now, I want to tell you guys, I don't talk about this that much, but I have actually been in private practice for well over 2 decades. And along the way, many times I have changed my mind about and modified what the word ideal means to me. That means I have redesigned and redeveloped my practice, my version of my practice over and over again. And every single time I've changed my mind about what I wanted to do next, it has worked. It has always worked because I am intentional about how I do things. So when I wanted to move from being a solo provider in a teeny tiny office all by myself to building a thriving group practice that had an impact on the community, I was able to do that. When I wanted to shift from being a generalist who worked with all ages, all people, all kinds of problems, to being known for someone who worked with teenagers, I did that quite successfully. When I wanted to make my shift from running an insurance-based practice that was almost 100% insurance-based to 100% self-pay, I did that. And I am doing this again. Even today, I am again sort of rebuilding or redesigning my private practice with a focus on the intersection between business and mental health. So I am working more and more with men and women who are leaders in their life and their work. A lot of them are business owners, or they are fairly high up in their work, but they still, life happens and life is hard. And I love these people. I love working with them so much. I love it so much. So my point here is that I have many times through the years changed what I wanted my practice to look like, and every single time I've been able to do it because of the kinds of things that I teach, and this is part of it. So you need to do this too so that you can move into 2024 with a plan so that you are no longer flying by the seat of your pants. You're not just figuring out as you go. You are no longer reacting to the chaos of the moment. You are actively, creatively, and consciously working on and building your ideal practice. Well, if that sounds as good to you as I hope it does, because it's pretty awesome, if you would like to register and grab a seat at this little mini retreat, you can do that by going to wendypittsreeves.com/on purpose. That's wendypittsreeves.com/on purpose. We'll spend 3 hours together, December the 8th, and it's going to be a great, great conversation. Now, the total investment for this 3-hour mini retreat where you get to work with me directly is actually only $197. That's $197. Y'all, that's less than a single session for many of you, and it's less than 2 for most of you, depending upon where you are in the country or where you are in your business. Well, would it be worth a session or 2 for you to have the space, the support, the strategic help you need to go into 2024 better connected with your purpose because you're running your practice on purpose? I sure think so. So I think this is exciting. I hope you will join me. And even with that, y'all, as good as that is, it's actually even better right now because as you are hearing this, if you are hearing this the week that this is live, you can, for this week only, you can get $100 off that price through any time through the end of the day on Monday, November the 27th. That's Cyber Monday for those of you who are paying attention in the U.S. All you have to do is use the coupon code IDEAL100, and I will have all this in the show notes, IDEAL100 at checkout, and it will automatically take $100 off. So let me repeat that. wendypittsreeves.com/on purpose is how you register for this 3-hour mini retreat that's going to be a really rich conversation on the afternoon of December the 8th. And if you use the coupon code IDEAL100 at checkout, you'll get $100 off, meaning it'll only be $97. You can register after that, but that coupon is only good through Cyber Monday, which is the 27th of November. So go do that. Go do that and join me. Let's hang out together. Let's connect. Let's talk about your practice. And let's get real about the ideal that you want to build next year. Because it's totally doable, guys. Whatever it is you got in mind, it's totally doable. And I'm going to help you with that. So that's what I got for you this week on Ideal Practice. I hope that gets the juices flowing and the wheels turning. And I hope you'll join me for 2024 on purpose. Whether you do, whether you don't, have an awesome week, everybody. Have a great Thanksgiving. Those of you who are in the United States, I'll just tell you right now, I am immensely thankful for each one of you. Have a great week, everybody, and I will see you next time right here on Ideal Practice. Bye now.